Tittle ain't the man, but Rick Tittle know who the man is, and he slapped his white fanny.
All right, thank you for that. Welcome back to the show. Rick Tittle with you coast to coast around the world on American Forces Radio Network, 177 countries. Adam Conover, stand-up comedian. He is headlining the world-famous Punchline here down on Battery Street in San Francisco. 2 shows tonight, 2 shows tomorrow. We were just talking during the break about Adam being from Long Island, and I saw you went to Bard College.
Correct, yeah.
And that's up on the Hudson. And what's funny was when I was like in college myself, I always thought it had something to do with Shakespeare.
Nope.
But it's just the guy's name, right?
The name of the original guy was William Bard, I think is his name.
And Annandale?
Annandale on Hudson is the now that sounds very Shakespearean, right?
Right.
And I think you're onto something here.
Stratford upon Avon.
Yeah. A lot of people know Annandale just because it's a line in a Steely Dan song because they went to Bard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What other famous alums off the top of your head?
Chevy Chase. In fact, that new documentary about him on CNN has some photos of him at Bard.
You're right.
One of the Beastie Boys, I forget which one, or maybe 2, perhaps.
Jonah Hill, I'm looking now.
Jonah Hill, I didn't remember that one actually.
Mia Farrow.
Yeah.
Oh, Christopher Guest.
Christopher Guest was there for like a couple years.
That's right.
Oh yeah,
Chevy knew him.
Yep. And also Ronan Farrow, Mia's son. And then, you know what's really funny is, so Bart's currently in the news because the president of 50 Years is all over the Epstein files. He's in it thousands of times.
Is he really?
He is. And he says it's just about fundraising, which is like believable, except he's in there so much, you know. So at the very least unseemly. Woody Allen also, it is revealed that Woody Allen asked Jeffrey Epstein to ask the president of the college to get his daughter with Sun Yi also into Bard, which is like
his daughter / wife.
It's a whole. No. Okay, it's a complicated family tree.
You mean Sun Yi's daughter?
Sun Yi's daughter also went to Bard, and Mia's daughter and Mia's son. It's a tangled web, you know, of everybody in that complicated family loves going to Bard College.
Wow. Well, when you were there, I'm looking at faculty: Sal Bello, Gore Vidal.
Oh yeah. They weren't not while I was there, but yeah, incredible faculty, incredible place to do mushrooms and read philosophy. Yeah. And boy, did I.
Did you live in Ward Manor?
No, I didn't. But I used to get really high there at 1 a.m. Yeah. That was like an old mansion on the Hudson, like gorgeous. You know, literally. So the whole campus is like 3 or 4 different like country estates of rich New Yorkers who built, you know, and then they were all combined into the college, and then they just have, you know, like 19-year-olds living in sort of a Grey Gardens kind of situation, you know, just like a former beautiful mansion that's been converted into dorm housing.
Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. So what was because sometimes I'm surprised where these theater kind of kids come from, because like with Georgetown, with you know, Nick Kroll and Mulaney and Birbiglia. Like, I don't think of Georgetown as being that type of school. So what about the Bard scene with theater and sketch and all that?
Great question. Well, first of all, Bard really attracted, like, the idle children of the idle rich. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of, there are a lot of rich folks. My dad was a college professor, right? University professor, so we're sort of like upper middle class or whatever. There's a lot of richer people. But, like, a lot of kids who like don't know what else to do, you know, and they do a lot of drugs. You can study whatever you want, you know. It's a very rich, fertile environment, and so it ends up being a place where like, what are you going to do but make some art? So that's where I got started in comedy, because my friends were like, oh, let's start a comedy group, and we did, and there was like no other entertainment on campus, and you know, we figured out how to make the other college kids laugh, and you know, if you think of Chevy Chase, same sort of way, you get this air of him, of this sort of you know, like aristocracy gone to seed, kind of like what rich kid with nothing better to do with his time than like make jokes and smoke weed, right?
So how do you, I mean, I understand why you would move to LA, because that's where almost everything is going down, and you on BoJack Horseman as well. Created
by my friend who I went to Bard with, who was in my comedy group.
Wow, yeah. Very good. Yeah, it's funny because Bard was on my mind. I just saw that Chevy Chase doc too, and I should have remembered that.
Isn't that doc funny? I thought it was really. We don't need to get into it.
Yeah, no, I mean I remember reading Live from New York and the whole thing with Terry Sweeney about where's the gay guy, you know, S my D, and it's like, why does he have to be like that? Like, what's wrong?
And what I thought was fascinating about the documentary was the documentary starts with the documentarian being like, I want to understand why this guy is like this. Why is this incredibly talented man, like prodigy, right? Incredibly talented man, such a piece of crap. Why is he like this? And my disappointment about the documentary is they don't really get into it because you know what the problem is? They can't find anyone who's willing to talk on camera about what an a-hole he is, you know.
Aykroyd only praised him.
Exactly. And they're like, oh, Chevy, you know, he rubs people the wrong way. And so by the end, it ends up taking his perspective. He's like an old man. He's like, basically, he's disabled as one gets when one is that old. And so you end up feeling sorry for him. I'm like, no. I don't want to feel sorry for him. I was into a documentary that explored why this guy is such a jerk.
The thing is that the two times when you kind of saw it was when the old clip of a guy interviewing the Caddyshack people.
Yeah.
And he flashes on him. You like my shirt? Blah, 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 you dumb a-hole. And then when the interviewer that's making the film, he's like, well, you're not bright, and I'm deep, and you're not smart enough to understand me. And it's like, oh, it's those little flashes. And I understand when you're slapped, you want to hit back, but it's so unprovoked, some of this stuff.
No, he was just the kind of guy, he'd just like stick a knife between your ribs, you know? Like you're just talking to him and then he's like, cha, you know, and you're bleeding out. And you're like, what why did he do this to me? Like that's who he was. And he's the kind of person, you know, he betrayed every person who ever loved him. He was horrible to all these wonderful people. You know, he quit SNL because he thought he was too good for it, you know?
1 year.
And now, at the end, he's like, why didn't they put me in the 50th anniversary? Well, first of all, because you can't walk or speak anymore. You were too old to be on camera, unfortunately. Like, you're an old man in a wheelchair. Yeah. Like, that's why you couldn't do a sketch on SNL. Sorry you feel jilted. But also because everyone hates you because you've been horrible to everybody for 50 years. Like,
they keep people out of Hall of Fames for that, you know? And then you think, like, well, Billy Crystal didn't get to be on the show. There were too many people. And so, yeah, I think he was a little bit... shocked by that. But that's the other thing, too, about, I think Jay Chandrasekhar, who actually was in here once as a stand-up, when he was talking about directing him on Community, he would kind of go like, well, there were a few times where Chevy's like, you're going to tell me about comedy? And I'm like, no, but I'll tell you about this scene, and you're doing it wrong, you know?
Yeah. You know, it's funny because he was the only. Chevy was so awful to people on Community, famously, and Jay is the only guy that could get to talk about it. But I'm like, I don't want to make those other people talk about it. I'm interviewing Joel McHale on my podcast called Factually, available on YouTube everywhere else. I'm interviewing him on like Monday, and like I'm not going to ask him any Chevy Chase questions because you know what? I don't want. Why should that be what he has to talk about?
Right.
I want to have a friendly conversation. I don't want to be like, hey, how was an old man mean to you 12 years ago?
Like, by the way, we just have about a minute left. When I had Joel McHale,
I've been talking about myself, not about Chevy.
I know. When I had Joel McHale on the show years ago, at the end he said, "Rick, we should hang out. Here's my number." Is that going to happen with us?
With you and me? It's going to happen with me and Joel. That guy's handsome, and he's a good hang. No, yeah, we can get together. What do you want to do? You want to get some noodles after this? What do you want to do? We're like near Chinatown.
You just threw out Joel McHale, and I was reminded of that story. All right, everybody get to the punchline. Do you know the feature and the opener?
Feature is my very good friend Sammy Mowry, who travels with me all around to open for me on the road. They're amazing, awesome comic. Look, let me just real quick pitch for the show. It's about my personal life. Went through a big breakup about a year ago. Show's about sex. It's about we start with politics. We get into sex. We get into masculinity. There's a lot of really bawdy material. People see a different side of me. I'm really excited to be touring the show, taping it in 2 months. Hope people come out and see it.
At the Den on April 18th.
And also between now and then, Sacramento, La Jolla, and Hartford, Connecticut. That's an interesting combo, right? We're doing all the beautiful California cities and then also Hartford, Connecticut. I'll see you out there.
Adam Conover, thanks for coming in, man.
Thank you for having me.
Really appreciate it. Pick up tickets at punchlinecomedy.com. Come on back.
Every champion has a team behind them, and for thousands of families without insurance, Chrysler